Tonight, we go back in time to find out what was it like in Weimar, Germany. We'll head down south of the border and understand and learn why it's a bad idea to identify as an attack helicopter. And it's Juneteenth, everybody. Once again, a beautiful holiday has been marred by violence. All of that and so much more on tonight's Chill Stream. Welcome, everybody. I'll see you in 2 minutes. And we're back. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Chill Stream. I can't believe it. A week has gone by, and what a week it has been. There's so much going on. We have so much ground to cover. It is Juneteenth. I didn't realize that until yesterday. It's actually a federal holiday, so like the stock market was closed and a whole bunch of other stuff. But to any of the diversity members of my audience, hopefully you avoided getting shot this June 13th, this Juneteenth day, because apparently there was quite a bit of gunfire in many places, which once again sadly marred the Juneteenth celebration. But man, we got so much stuff to cover. There's so much going on. I don't know where to start. I got so much stuff. So I guess what can we do? Let's talk about this is a bit of a gold bug person, but we're always talking about money. We're always talking about the reality of how people exchange and who controls that exchange and what that creates, right? The title of tonight's show is the Cantillionaires Ball, which I actually thought of earlier in the week, and I scribbled it down on a piece of paper, and I thought, well, I'll use that as a title because you got to have a catchy 3-word title. I'll use that as a title for the Chill Stream, and then I thought about it. I was like, well, that doesn't really sound that good. And then we got some big money, some big news on Thursday. So whatever. Well, here's I'll tell you what. Since I opened with Juneteenth, here's a picture of what's coming in the future. This has actually already happened in the United States, but I'm going to show you the story, and you watch it, and then you tell me what is the thing that they're not saying in this story. This is Houston, Texas, about a week ago.
only on 13. A North Houston man says he is now changing his habits after he was followed from a bank for more than 30 minutes to 4 different locations.
Video that we're just getting shows the suspect following him from a Chase Bank on West Road and Highway 249 last week.
Well, they followed him, as we mentioned, for more than 30 minutes as he made 4 stops before he then stopped at a restaurant. Then they made their move, breaking into his truck.
They were patient. Very patient. They knew what they were doing. He knew what he was looking for. He left expensive glasses there. He left money. He left cigarettes. He left all sorts of things in the vehicle. All he wanted was this bank pouch.
Well, he says police told him to change his routine. It's a reminder we have to be aware of our surroundings all the time. Watch for any suspicious vehicles before you go into a bank. And always, you want to be aware of any loitering vehicles.
So, have you figured it out? One, that guy sounds like he's from South Africa. You know, he doesn't sound super surprised that that's a melanin enhanced individual did that. But as the story said, they followed him from the bank to 4 different stops for 20 minutes before breaking into the car and just taking the bag full of money. Right, all the other stuff they ignored. So it wasn't a random junkie. They knew who to hit and when to hit them. Well, how would they know that? What the Houston police are not telling you is that I guarantee you on more than one occasion, that guy's gone into that bank and chatted with the clerk. And I guarantee that the clerk's name is LaQuisha or Monquiqui or LaShonda or whatever her name is. And those thieves that just happen to be the most patient, low time preference thieves in all of Houston, Texas. Those thieves are her cousins or compatriots or somebody that lives on her street. That story is 100% an inside job, 100% an inside job. But they won't tell you that. They're going to tell you some long, convoluted bullshit about look before you go into the bank and look to see if there's any cars, people sitting in their cars. Everybody with a smartphone is staring into their smartphone all the fucking time. I do it. Everybody does it. Do you know how many times I pass people sitting in their cars running or sitting in their cars off? You can tell, you can see the glow of their phone on their face. You know how many times I see that? I see that everywhere. And I catch myself doing it as well. I get in my car and I think, oh, I got to check this or I got to check that. I really don't. It's bullshit. It's just being neurotic. But I catch myself doing it. And then I'm like, well, how come I haven't started the car? How come I'm not going in? Because I'm staring at the phone. So everybody does that. The idea that, to do a routine bank transaction, you're going to instantly become like, super security expert, and you're going to scan the area 5 meters from your car, then scan the area 25 meters from your car before you decide. I think nobody's going to fucking do that. Who the fuck's going to do that? Nobody's. So inside job. Happy Juneteenth to those thieves. I'm sure they took that money and bought a stolen Glock and then went to a house party and celebrated Juneteenth in the way that they should celebrate Juneteenth. Anyway, but that's the U.S. dollar. That's the ability that even crude thieves have. It doesn't take a whole lot to set something up like that, and I suspect that's going to become more and more and even more common as things go forward. So let's see. What was the point? What was the point of this? What was the point of money? What was the point of fiat? Let's listen to this. Looks like somebody's grandma or somebody's mom, maybe. Talk to us about what is the purpose of fiat money?
What is fiat money and why are we on that system? Governments wanted to be able to tax you without going through legislation and making it visible to you. Inflation was baked into the currency. You had corporations that actually wanted to pay the workers less. But hey, if you're making $20 an hour, you're not going to settle for 10. Through inflation, if you can make that $20 spend like 10, the government gets that inflation tax without you realizing it, and corporations get to pay you that much less without you realizing it. That's what central bankers call price stability if you don't ask for more money. That's why central bankers want relatively low inflation rates, because then you just accept that money. But hey, in 1971, the average wage was $9,500, and one wage earner could support a family of four. Today, the average wage is something like $57,000, and you need two wage earners and your paycheck to paycheck. Fiat money was invented for governments and corporations at the expense of the population.
Now, that woman's a gold bug. She's not a Bitcoiner, but makes a pretty good case. Makes a really good case. Low inflation is 2% target, as they say. You're told that that's the target. You're told that's what the inflation rate is in order to for you to accept the fact that you're not being paid anywhere near what you're worth. We've gone over this other times. In 1964, minimum wage was $1.25, but all of those, those 5 quarters that you would have gotten as minimum wage in 1964 were all made out of silver. You know what I mean? Those same 5 quarters today would be worth like $23. And what's the minimum wage? $7.85. So there's no way you're going to keep up in their system. You're always going to lose 100%. There is no way to win. In the fiat casino, it's just not going to happen. They make the rules and they decide whether to turn the knob to the left or to the right, to turn on the printer or don't, or turn off the printer or slow it down. And there isn't anything you can do about it. And you may feel helpless and like a victim, but you really don't have to. If you decide that you're going to, I don't know, be a participant in your own rescue and opt out, then there's definitely choices, right? But if you're just going to sit there and pray to Jesus, well, please, Jesus, reincarnate Adolf Hitler so he can come back and beat up the Jews and take away the keys to the money printer and then send them all running back to Tel Aviv or whatever the fuck, whatever nonsensical fantasy you have, like you're Rapunzel in the tower and the fucking whatever, some heroic political figure is going to come and save you. Nobody's fucking coming to save you. No one is coming to save us. You understand? And you're in a fight, whether you like it or not, for yourself, for your children, and for your grandchildren, and for what the future of the world is going to look like. There's this chick. I don't know where I saw her. She was somehow hooked up with that. Remember Tila Tequila, the one who went to the Richard Spencer Spook event down there in Washington, D.C. and amazingly, 2 Jewish guys bookended her, and they got her to throw up a salute, a one-arm salute. And they're like, look, Vietnamese Nazis are running around loose in Washington, D.C. But this is not Tila Tequila. This is another one who I think I was associated with her. I heard this name around the same time. But this chick is smarter, and she's a little bit more better prepared. The girl's name is Michelle Phan, Phan.
To me, it's the new American dream is being able to work at your own hours. You get and working on what you really believe in, that you care for. And this is why also, like, for me, like, Bitcoin made so much sense when I first discovered it. I'm like, this is also the American dream too. Mm-hmm. So I think also, like, coming from parents who escaped communism, from the war, I cared so much about sovereignty and freedom at a young age. Like, that's all I care about. I want freedom. Like, that's literally why people wake up every day to work really hard, is one day they want to be free from all of this, right? I mean, isn't that the most noble pursuit, is to have freedom?
So she gets it, family fled from the reality of communism, and unfortunately she fled to America, which is just a slightly less communistical so what are we going to talk about next? We're going to talk about the global con game that is the U.S. dollar. because, I said in the opening, we're going to go back to Weimar, and we will. We got musical numbers, we got songs, we got song and dance, we got all kind of big name Hollywood talent, all of that coming up. But you need to understand that what you currently live in, like I've said, you were born into a world of the U.S. dollar. You've grown up in a world where the U.S. dollar is king, and you cannot imagine a world where the U.S. dollar is not absolutely king, where it is not universally accepted, where people, merchants aren't salivating around the globe to get U.S. dollars. You can't imagine that, but here's the reality of the U.S. dollar.
The best way to understand the importance of Bitcoin for our modern world is to first understand how and why the fiat currency, the US dollar, was designed to benefit a few people and entities while keeping all the rest of us poor. Fiat currency, like the US dollar, is a medium of exchange, issued, backed, and enforced by a government. No commodities like gold, natural resources, or similar back fiat currencies. Rather, a government just decrees or declares that the currency is legal tender people have to use to transact in their country. And throughout history, all fiat currencies that have ever existed eventually went to zero and became worthless. So right now, we all need to realize that the US dollar is a global fiat currency experiment that likely won't end well if history rhymes or repeats itself as it often does.
So these girls, you know what? They kind of get it. They kind of get it. But what's going to happen before the U.S. dollar fails? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Here's where we go back to Weimar. I remember this. This was part of a commercial. I used to show this on television in New York City when I was a kid. But we got two clips. We're going to play them back to back. The total time is like about 8.5 minutes. But this is kind of, I didn't understand. This always stuck in my head when I was a kid. I had no idea why, but I guess because they ran the commercial nonstop. But this was a thing in the 70s. Let's go back to Weimar.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Fremde, étranger, stranger. Glücklich zu sehen, just vis enchanté. Happy to see you, bleibe reste stay. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Im cabaret, au cabaret, to cabaret. Meine Damen und Herren, Mesdames et Messieurs, Ladies und Gentlemen, comment ça va? Do you feel good? Ich bin euer Konferencier. I am your host und sage willkommen, bienvenue, welcome im Cabaret, au Cabaret, to Cabaret. Leave your troubles outside. So, life is disappointing. Forget it. In here, life is beautiful. The girls are beautiful. Even the orchestra is beautiful. Christine, Mausi, Helga, Betty und Inge. Each and every one a virgin. You don't believe me? Well, do not take my word for it. Go ahead. Ask Helga. is windy. But here, it is so hot. Every night we have the battle to keep the girls from taking off all their clothing. So, don't go away. Who knows? Tonight we may lose the battle.
Glücklich zu sehen, je suis enchanté. Happy to see you.
Wir bringen Ihnen die Brezeldame, der Cantillionaires, die charmante Chanteuse aus Amerika, Fräulein Salibon, Frau Huber, die einmalige Fräulein Elke und last not least die Spielknaben, the Cowboys und George Clooney. Wir sagen, Hallo, Stranger.
So I know you're sitting there going, oh, come on. It's really not that bad. It's kind of a little bit of a risque, kind of a stage show. You know, life sucks outside in Germany, and, you know, we're just trying to escape our unhappiness. Well, that's not the only part of that clip. And that guy, Joel Bray, man, he scared the crap out of me as a kid. That was a scary look. I thought that he was like a vampire. But obviously, the TV commercial I saw when a kid wasn't that long. It was like a 4-minute clip. But the film version of it, which came out in the 1970s, had Liza Minnelli in it. Liza Minnelli, famously, the daughter, she's still alive, believe it or not, the daughter of Judy Garland. Judy Garland died at an early age from an overdose of pills and alcohol, as I recall. So, and then sometime later, Liza Minnelli is in this film, and Liza Minnelli is the American star that they brought in from wherever. And Liza Minnelli has a number. I'm going to show you Liza's number, and I want you to listen to the lyrics of the song.
I give you that international sensation, Fräulein Sally Balls!
What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Put down the knitting, the book and the broom. It's time for a holiday. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band. Come blow your horn. Start celebrating. Right this way, your table's waiting. What good's omitting some prophet of doom to wipe every smile away? Life is a cabaret, old chum. So come to the cabaret. I used to to have this girlfriend known as Elsie, with whom I shared 4 sordid rooms in Chelsea. She wasn't what you'd call a blushing flower. As a matter of fact, she rented by the hour. The day she died, the neighbors came to snicker. Well, that's what comes from too much pills and liquor. But when I saw her laid out like a queen, she was the happiest corpse I'd ever seen. I think of Elsie to this very day. I remember how she turned to me and say, what good is sitting all alone in your room? Come, hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. And as for me, I made my mind up back in Chelsea. When I go, I'm going like Elsie. Start by admitting from cradle to tomb, it isn't that long a stay. Life is a cabaret, old chum. It's only a cabaret, old chum. And I love a
So that was entertainment back in the day. If you think about it, Liza Minnelli's mother, like I said, Judy Garland, died from an overdose of pills and alcohol, and they got her to do a solo number where she praises a prostitute who overdoses on pills and alcohol. And you know, this was Weimar. You know, this is an artistic representation of what Weimar had done to Berlin. Certainly, all of Germany we don't know, but to Berlin, and the glorification of prostitution, drug use, and suicide. You know what? That's pretty anti-civilizational. That's not pro-civilization at all. You wouldn't want your sister doing that. You wouldn't want your mom doing that. You wouldn't want your wife or girlfriend to do that. You know what I mean? You wouldn't be real proud to say, you know, yeah, my mom rents herself out by the hour. You know, so you can imagine why the cultural backlash against the glorification of things which are as vile can be, right? You can understand historically why that would happen. There's so many things in that film, and the film is worth watching if you want to get some idea of Weimar. By the way, those cuts of the dude getting off the train, that's an English actor named Michael York, who was not that big of a movie star. He was almost a movie star. He was in the 70s version of the Three Musketeers, but he never really caught on for English actors. But that's a level of degeneracy that makes people go crazy. And that level of degeneracy even exists today in places like Venezuela. You want to see some out of control parties? Go look at Venezuelan beach parties. So what happens when the money dies? People go crazy. I've said that before. I'll say it again. This next video I got for you, it's 1 minute long, and the guy who has whose channel that uploaded this, I wrote after seeing this video, when the money dies, people go insane, even men like this. So come on, let's go south to the border. Let me introduce you to the hero of Venezuela.
Oscar Perez joined the Venezuelan police at the age of 21, starting the helicopter pilot course. He also underwent various specialization courses, such as diving and parachuting. He achieved the rank of Inspector of Criminal and Forensic Investigations, an authentic Venezuelan James Bond. He was also an actor and gained fame as the protagonist of the Venezuelan film Muerte Suspendida, produced in 2015. When the population began to protest against the disastrous socialist measures of the government, Oscar Perez became the spokesperson for this movement. It was then, on June 27, 2017, that he stole a helicopter from the Bolivarian police and fired dozens of shots at the Ministry of Interior Relations building. He also threw 4 grenades at the Supreme Court headquarters, with the action video being broadcasted live on Instagram. On January 15, 2018, the house where he was hiding was surrounded and hit by RPG shots. After 3 hours of gunfire, he and 6 of his companions were killed by the Venezuelan police, becoming a martyr of the opposition.
So, Venezuela experienced hyperinflation, and that is how one successful guy, I mean, he was a cop, he could have stayed, with the government forever. He's literally a helicopter pilot floating above all of this, but he was young, he was a patriot, and something of an action guy, and he thought that, he thought he could change things by choosing violence, but you're not going to change it. You're going to get yourself killed, and Venezuela is in as bad or worse shape. Again, if you really want to see, if you go on YouTube and you search Venezuela videos, there's 4 guys, like 4 Americans go down there, like 4 dopey Amera bros that are they say. They made a video. We tried to spend $100 in one day in Caracas, and we couldn't do it. So there's 4 guys. They're eating, they're drinking, they're doing all kinds of stuff. They can't spend $100. They have all this food. The guy says $2. They hand them $2. They get back a stack of bolivares. That's literally this big. It's like a 6-inch stack of money. They get back, 20 million bolivares, or some ridiculous amount of fucking currency. So, stealing a helicopter, right, and shooting at the Parliament building or throwing hand grenades at the Supreme Court, it's not really going to get you. It's not going to get you too far. What's going to get you through hyperinflation? What is going to get you through hyperinflation? This is what this is, and this is also a Venezuela story, even shorter, 49 seconds. But here's how you get through hyperinflation.
I was in Venezuela in the middle of horrible capital controls. You couldn't buy or sell dollars. You just got paid bolivares, and there was no real thing for you to deploy them into. And my youngest brother started mining Bitcoin. He basically said, I can show you how I can convert this Bitcoin to bolivares at the correct dollar rate, at the market rate. And I will show you how these bolivares hit my account. And this was in a very dusty room where his ASICs were blowing up, and I gave him my bank account, and within 30 minutes or an hour, the bolivares hit my bank account. In a moment in time where you couldn't sell dollars, you couldn't buy dollars, somehow you had sold this Bitcoin in 30 minutes, and the bolivares were in my account. And when I saw that, my mind just was blown. That was it. I was like, if we in Venezuela can use this to basically protect our savings from inflation in this environment, this is going to change the world.
So that's how Bitcoin was mined in Venezuela. Part of the reason you could get away with that is because Venezuela had super cheap or basically free electricity. They had so much excess capacity. So you could run ASICs down there. I don't think they had electric meters to meter how much electricity you were using. So they didn't really know who was mining Bitcoin and who wasn't mining Bitcoin, unless, of course, you, went and said something about it. Unless you went and doxed yourself. Virgil Doc, Purple Heart, welcome to the show, sir. So Bitcoin for real saved at least one family in Venezuela, right? So, and the reason why that matters is because, and now I guess we'll start to get into the, we'll get into, what do we got? We'll do this. I'll show you the big news of the week, of course, was BlackRock. BlackRock the hedge fund, the private equity firm, which is publicly traded, announced that they are filing a request to the Securities and Exchange Commission to create a Bitcoin ETF. So what that means is it's actually a trust. It's not really an ETF, but it's going to trade like an ETF. What that means is BlackRock is going to buy and own Bitcoin, and then be the middleman between the public and Bitcoin. Now, I've said before, and you think I'm being hyperbolic when I say every knee shall bend, right? And it turns out that BlackRock, by the way, they've been offering private Bitcoin services to their high net worth individual clients, since August of 2022. And BlackRock, like it or not, is the part of the Federal Reserve. It's not officially part of the Federal Reserve, but it's 100% the Federal Reserve. It's an arm of the Federal Reserve. It's basically the U.S. government. So here's a video, 2 minutes, 27 seconds. It's from 5 years ago. So this video is 5 years old. Understand that. But this is Larry Fink of BlackRock talking about Bitcoin 5 years ago. And I want you to pay particular attention to Larry Fink. But you might be surprised to learn he's Jewish. Larry Fink, look at his body language.
Have you developed a view on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And what is BlackRock doing about them?
Well, I believe in blockchains. We're looking at many blockchains. We created provider Aladdin, which is really a blockchain between us and the clients.
But that's the underlying technology.
But it's a private blockchain, okay? But we believe if we create more and more flow through information by having all the different reference points of a transaction being systematized, that's good. Related to cryptocurrencies, I'm a big believer in the potential of what a cryptocurrency can do. You see huge opportunities in it, but what we're talking about today, it's really much more of a speculative. People are speculating on it, but most importantly, what I think about most of these cryptocurrencies, it just identifies how much money laundering there is being done in the world, how much people are trying to move currencies from one place to another. So I actually believe you're seeing the demand for it, but let's be clear, if we created a true global digital currency, I hate the word crypto, a digitized currency, then then you would not have money laundering anymore. You would have everything understood, everything would be flowing through, everything would be identified. You could see all the application, except I'm horrified on one point. How do we preserve the system from cyber problems? Because if the whole world is using this one network for financial transaction, it presents a lot of systemic risk.
Is it time yet for BlackRock to either trade in digital assets or digital virtual currencies, if you prefer, or to create a product for your clients?
We're not hearing any demand from any of our clients other than maybe some speculative stuff. We're being asked that question, but it's more of like a venture capital type of interchange, but we're not hearing clients saying we want to use this as an asset class. No.
It's not an institutional thing yet.
It's far from that. As I said, it's much more of a speculative platform for Asia, and it's heavily used for money laundering.
Okay, 5 years ago, three times in that conversation, Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, referred to Bitcoin as the index of money laundering. And this Thursday past, they just filed a request with the SEC to create an exchange-traded fund that is a pure Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, which means BlackRock will be buying Bitcoin and holding it, not themselves, they'll hold it at Coinbase. And then you can buy a share of that fund, like with your IRA, like, with your stock portfolio. So BlackRock is first, Vanguard will come next, Fidelity Investments, the on-ramps to send, I don't know how much money into Bitcoin. And if BlackRock is going to have to buy and hold this Bitcoin. I was trying to figure out how much Bitcoin is really available. There are 900 Bitcoins possible to be mined every single day at the current rate. And I was like, well, how many are actually for sale? And I know that Marathon Digital, I've said they're not going to sell any of their Bitcoins. So I just Googled it a couple of minutes before the show. Marathon Digital has actually sold 500 and something Bitcoin in order to finance more Bitcoin miners, right? So they sell a little bit of Bitcoin in order to finance their Bitcoin mining operations. They currently hold 12,000 and change Bitcoins. That's Marathon Oil. And they just tweaked their software so that they're now mining 41 Bitcoins a day. Now that's Marathon. You got to, I told you in the past, Exxon is doing this. Shell Oil is doing this. We don't know who else is doing this. How many Bitcoins are they making in a day? And are those Bitcoins going to be available on the market? You know, and that's the real question. I don't know how much Exxon, I can't find out any figures on what Exxon has or what they're, how much Bitcoin they've stacked. We don't know. Shell is not saying that, but there's really less than 900 Bitcoins available every day because Marathon, Exxon, and Shell are keeping, and Marathon's keeping 95%. I guarantee you 100%. Next year, by this time, there will be what's called a halving event, right? That means no matter how much energy you put into Bitcoin, you will only get 450 Bitcoins a day. That's all that's available, okay? This is a type of supply shock that's built into Bitcoin. It's built into the software protocol. You always, every 4 years, you get half of what you had gotten the previous 4 years. So today we're getting 900 a day. Next year, 2024 is the halving, and we're only going to get 450. So BlackRock is buying, right? Going to create an on-ramp for you, Joe Normie, who has dismissed Bitcoin, right? Oh, that's some whacked out shit. You need one of those things that it breaks down and the screen dies, and you got to open it up and break it and do a thing with codes. Like, I can't be bought. You know, when BlackRock, okay, offers its product to the public, and then Fidelity offers its product to the public, and then Vanguard, and then JP Morgan, and then Goldman Sachs, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, of course, for sure. What's the price of Bitcoin going to be? I don't know. But it's probably not going down from here. I'm surprised, really, that it's only 26K at this point. You have no idea what a bargain that is because things, you know, shit's about to get real. Shit is about to get absolutely real. And the other thing about Larry Fink, you know, while he would, the whole entire time he was talking to the guy, first the guy asked him about Bitcoin and he starts talking about something else. Immediately kind of changes the subject. And then he says, we're not seeing any interest. We're not, did you see his head going back and forth? Oh, it's just speculative. Oh, you know. So they're lying to you. They've always been lying to you about what this is and what it means. They don't really understand it yet. And right now, the Federal Reserve through BlackRock is I guess going to try and control this or co-opt this somehow, but it ain't going to work out too good. Trying to think, I was going to do a video clip of this, but it doesn't make a difference because you can easily picture it. The Los Angeles Dodgers had an LGBTQ celebration night recently because it's Pride Month, of course. Pride Month and Juneteenth. Interesting that they go together, right? But they had a bunch of drag queens, including a bunch of drag queens that dress up like nuns and do some particularly pornographic, disgusting things, which they did on the baseball field in front of the crowd. Why the fuck would you do this? Gay pickup trucks, LGBTQ clothing for children, and now drag queens at Dodger Stadium. Where does this all come from? Where does it all come from? Let's go talk to my friend Larry again.
You now make a point of that's an investment criteria for you.
Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. you have to force behaviors. And at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we're doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels of impact, your compensation could be impacted, okay?
We're doing the same thing.
And so it's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken is that we have not seen more opportunities. And we're going to have to force change.
So this is not the protocols of the elders of Zion. This is not a nuanced, interpretation. Larry Fink says we are going to force behaviors, and if you don't meet our targets, then we're going to impact your income. When I tell you you're going to die starving and homeless because of these fucking people, I'm right. And that's Larry Fink telling you that, okay? Notice, by the way, his head wasn't wagging back and forth as much. His speech was much clearer, much more direct. When he says, we're going to force you, he ain't fucking lying. And he knows he can force you. He can force the Dodgers to have LGBTQ, whatever, drag queen night. You can force Target to offer a line of fucking children's clothing that is an invitation to pedophiles. You can make a gay pickup truck. You can do everything. You can make Will Smith, the gayest Negro in Hollywood, America's favorite action hero. You can make Michelle Obama into a woman. Big Mike, we all know is a biological male. So they can do anything. We can force anything, right? And when I tell you, the overwhelming majority of people, like the so-called dissident right, listen, you're just fucking communists. You really are communists. You were born into this system. You're comfortable with this system. You just wish that, Larry Fink would give you like a suitcase full of $100 bills and let you criticize the Communist Party. Like that's your entire dream, really. And that's pretty vile. You know what I mean? So, and you're going to stick with them and you're going to go with them. You're not going to hear what Larry Fink had to say. You don't want to listen to what I have to say and what others have had to say. I point out the ethnic similarity between Larry Fink and Jerome Powell and, Steve Mnuchin and all the others. And I point out that, it's these people. It's pretty similar to Weimar, right? The clip I showed you from the movie Cabaret, that was to 1920s Germany, as vile as the LGBTQ things. And when hyperinflation hits, people are going to go nuts, right? Whether it's like the guy in Venezuela or what happened in Berlin in the 30s. This is coming. Be smart. Protect yourself from this. Protect your family from this. And that's all you can do, right? But the way you protect yourself is not praying for the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler, because he ain't getting reincarnated. You know what I mean? He's not coming to save you. That's no matter how much you want a politician to save you, they're not going to save you. Here's a politician. Once again, I've said that RFK is full of shit. Tulsi Gabbard is full of shit. They're all conning you. Oh, they put on I'm wearing a t-shirt with an orange fucking thing on it. Big fucking deal. Here's 42 seconds of this other little Spanish girl, different from the blonde one, having a chat with the mayor of Miami, Florida.
What was that moment that Bitcoin clicked for you?
Well, I think probably last year when I was at the first Bitcoin conference I attended, and I saw all these young
people, old people who are just looking to figure out a new and better way. I think that's what America's about, and I love the entrepreneurship that's here. It's something that's exceptional. It's something that built our country, and frankly, it's something that in our city is pretty well defined.
You have to say your elevator pitch about Bitcoin to somebody. What would it be?
I say, listen, this is these are new, and this is the future. You want to be part of it.
Do you invest in Bitcoin?
I actually don't.
Mayor, no. What?
I don't.
Right? They're all full of shit. Right? The mayor of Miami, which wants to be the capital of crypto, you know what I mean? He's holding the fucking Julian Assange picture, right? It's all about fucking virtue signaling and fucking conning you. You have to stop putting your faith in total strangers to rescue you, because that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You know, they're all here just to fucking rug pull you. They're all here to fucking scam you. And that's how it is. In the meantime, you know, people saying, oh, you know, there's probably people going, oh my God, Bitcoin fell from 30,000 to 26,000. Trust me, Larry Fink and his friends are still buying. You know what I mean? They've been buying for at least a year. They've probably been buying for 5 years at least, because you can tell that Larry was lying through his teeth. There's a woman named Caitlin Long. She's like an OG in Bitcoin. Caitlin Long tried to do what BlackRockers tried to do, but she definitely got shut down, and she's currently suing the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, and she will win for a number of reasons. She wanted to create a bank called Custodia, right? So she wanted a bank where you could just deposit your money, and then you could instantly turn it into Bitcoin, and the bank would custodial, they would custody your Bitcoin. So in order to do this, you have to join the Federal Reserve SWIFT money exchange program, whatever, their wire service, right? And there's a whole bunch of paperwork you have to do, and then you apply, and then you get an answer. Well, Custodia, you know, applied in 2017 and never got an answer. When COVID hit, you know, they eventually sued the Federal Reserve, and then COVID hit, and the Federal Reserve was like, "Oh, there's COVID. Everybody's working remotely. We can't, you know, we can't approve your application or whatever." And the Custodia, it was bullshit. And the lawyers for Custodia found out that even during COVID, the process, which normally takes about 3 weeks, even during COVID, other banks had applied to join the Federal Reserve System and had gotten approved like within 3 months or 6 months. And it's, you know, it's how many years since Custodia was finally near the end of COVID denied their application. But this is Caitlin Long, and the toughest, smartest, most successful people are the ones that keep their eyes on their goals. You know what I mean? And regardless of what happens around them, they keep following their same plan. So let's listen to Caitlin talk about so-called bear markets, because Bitcoin's crashed. You know, it was 69,000 when it crashed down to 26,000. So listen to the voice of experience.
What advice would you give someone in a bear market?
Well, this is my third. I sat with, from an investment perspective, I don't give advice, but I will just share my story. I sat with big losses on my Bitcoin back in 2013, 2014 when Mt. Gox failed. And I just doubled down, honestly. Though it took a year and a half for those losses to turn around, and it never looked back.
And for the people that are trying to dip their toes into Bitcoin, what advice would you give them?
Well, the most important thing is educate yourself. The best investment that you can make is to teach yourself how to self-custody, teach yourself how Bitcoin works, teach yourself about Lightning Network, understand what the threat attack surface is for how you could lose your Bitcoin, understand that risk relative to the risk of investing in other assets, and just really keep educating yourself. It's a daily task.
So that's Caitlin Long. She will end up, Custodia Bank will become a real thing. It will be financed hilariously by the Federal Reserve Bank. because they don't have any good reason for denying her when they approved others. And now that BlackRock's going to do an ETF, the on-ramps for people in the fiat world to have some exposure to Bitcoin are being built, and the structure necessary for Bitcoin to fucking take over the world is coming, right? But for all of us who knew that that this day was coming, like for years now, I'm sitting here and I'm saying Bitcoin's going to do this, Bitcoin's going to do that, and every knee shall bend, and everyone's like, yeah, bullshit, you're fucking delusional. Well, BlackRock has bent the knee, and to be honest, when I saw it, this should be a great. I should drop this in every other show. This is how I felt.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G. Snoop Dogg. You know I'm mobbing with the D.R.E. Yeah.
12 seconds, great drop. I know Snoop Dogg, I've been told by someone who's authentically black that Snoop Dogg is not cool, hasn't been cool for a very long time. Will never be cool again. But that's a great meme, It is both gratifying and scary to see this happening, because Weimar is coming, Venezuela is coming, and I don't think there's anything there's no political figure that's going to save you. It's just not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. AI is not going to save you. You have to save yourself. And to anyone who can hear this and thinks, yeah, I better fucking get off my ass. You could download Cash App, or fucking, like, you could just, like, this. There's a number of ways you can save yourself, but I don't know. You have to actually want to fucking save yourself. You know what I mean? That's something. That is something I cannot convince you to do. You have to convince yourself. You have to convince yourself. You know what I mean? You could still pray for the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. You know what I mean? You could give Hitler your Bitcoin, whether you think it's Hitler, Spanish Hitler. It's going to be different. Like, what this signals, the rise of Bitcoin, is the end of the parasite class, right? The idea right now, BlackRock, like I said, they're going to be the middleman between John Q. Public and access to Bitcoin. You buy their ETF, you're not actually buying the Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin goes up, and you go, okay, I want to sell at, let's say Bitcoin goes to doubles, right? Goes to 50 grand. And you go, okay, I want to sell, send me $50,000 worth of Bitcoin. They're not going to do that, because they're going to say it's a trust. We hold the Bitcoin. You invest in the trust, and blah, 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 blah. There's a bit of subtlety there, but the reality is you would be much smarter just downloading Cash App onto your smartphone and smashing up the buy button, and keep the fucking shit on your phone. Own the actual asset, because BlackRock is opening the door for Apple to hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet, for Microsoft to hold, like, all these big companies, because Bitcoin has been given the blessing of BlackRock, can now say, well, it's an asset, it's ETF, it's traded all the time, and we're going to take a position on it. What's that going to do to the price? I don't know. I mean, it means I'm probably going to be able to retire someday, instead of just fucking. What did I drive on Sunday? I drove 660 fucking miles. Had to go up to White Plains first, and then down 660 miles on one day. That's a long time staring through a windshield. But there will come a day where that will end. When that day will come, I don't know. But it definitely will come. And so you got to understand that that the world is on the brink of a really big fucking change, and you can front run this, or you can get, you can stand in front of it and get crushed, or you can ride along the top of it and save yourself and those you care about. I got a Michael Saylor clip. What's he talking about? Oh, I think this is all right. So this is bigger picture. I know I show a ton of Michael Saylor stuff. A bigger picture stuff about exactly how Bitcoin is going to fundamentally transform everything, and I mean everything.
Bitcoin is mobile property in the cyber domain. We've got all of our money in gold, in a vault, indestructible, and you live next door. You can come in the country, kill everybody, firebomb everything, take the gold. In that environment, you have a high return on corruption, and you have a high return on violence and war. In the other extreme, all the property is digital. If you did invade the country, unless you did it in an hour or less and no one knew, all the Bitcoin will be gone from the country, right? It's going to be wired off into cyberspace, put into some time lock multi-sig, or it's going to another country. The Bitcoin can move faster than the army. So it's not really that productive to engage in war to get it. And then the corruption doesn't make a lot of sense, because if I run a country and I pass a law taxing Bitcoin 5% a year or 50%, the Bitcoin leaves the country.
Right? That's what people don't comprehend, in that a property that's extremely difficult for state actors to confiscate has a power that you don't really comprehend yet. Saylor goes on. This was part of a bigger. He did like a symposium thing where he had Robert Breedlove. He had Robert Breedlove, American Hodl, who I think shouldn't have been there, and then a couple other guys, and they were doing like, they're at whatever his fucking mansion, and you see he's in the fucking leather fucking wooden chair and shit, and they all had headphones and microphones, and they're having this high-end discussion. And the discussion it started out with talking about the American Revolution, and Saylor, God knows how much this fucking guy reads. He's read all sorts of shit, and I've pointed out in previous shows that that Ben Franklin, said that the manipulation of the continental script, the money of the colonies, by English bankers, by European bankers, was a bigger driver towards revolution than anything else. But Saylor, I think he traces family ancestry back to like around the 1800s, and they went to Philadelphia, and he wondered why his family went to Philadelphia and not to New York, because obviously New York was the big point of entry. But New York was run like they still call it the Empire State today, but New York was run by a very tiny elite that ruled like kings. Everyone was a serf. You had no rights. You had no freedom. How bad was it? Well, New York, the state of New York, or the colony of New York, once passed a law, and this is during the Revolutionary War period, that you were not allowed to sell baked bread. You could bake bread in your home if you wanted to, right? You could bake a loaf of bread, but you couldn't like bake 10 loaves of bread and sell them, because the state didn't want you to do that. And you know what? People just left New York. They walked to New Jersey, or they walked to Philadelphia, because you could just do that. In Massachusetts, where America's first state religion was established, they had the Puritans, and they established a state religion. And people got so sick of fucking Puritanism that they just walked to Rhode Island, or they walked to New Hampshire. The state motto of New Hampshire is "Live free or die." You know why? You know why that? Because everybody walked from fucking New Hampshire. Walked from Massachusetts to fucking New Hampshire to escape the Puritans. Which, by the way, I think they were cryptos. That is to say, I think they were crypto Jews. There's some indication that the Puritan cult of Christianity was in fact members of the tribe masquerading as something else. Which the other thing, if you think of that Larry Fink clip, where he goes, "I don't like the word crypto." Yeah, I can understand. I can understand historically, Larry, why you wouldn't be such a huge fan of that. But to Sailor's point, that using violence to gain the value that someone else has created will become far less profitable in the future as more people move their wealth into Bitcoin. It can't be taxed away. It can't be stolen from you. It can't be confiscated. And when the rich really sort of figure this out and realize that this entire global fiat experiment is about to go up in flames, and we're about to experience a global Weimar Republic, that's when hyper-Bitcoinization happens, right? Hyper-Bitcoinization is hyperinflation, and that's going to be a bad, scary time. And I really hope it doesn't happen anytime soon, but it's certainly going to happen in my lifetime. Because who believes in any fucking thing that anyone's going to do? Like, do you doubt that fucking Joe Biden's going to fucking win re-election? Of course he's going to win re-election. Even though he came up with that, like, there was the Bitcoiners, the Bitcoin stoners, and all these various different Bitcoin people. They express their fears constantly, like, oh my God, BlackRock is going to manipulate the price of Bitcoin by doing some shady things behind the scenes. They probably are not going to do that, because if the SEC catches them, they're going to have to, smack them down. But I'm so deep down a rabbit hole that I'm like, oh God, I hope they do that. Like, can somebody please convince them to do that? Like, artificially get BlackRock to hold the price of Bitcoin down so I can stack more, because I used to have a lot more than I have now. But the longer the price stays low, like under $250,000, the longer regular people have a chance of accumulating it, and the lifeboat gets bigger. You know what I mean? The lifeboat for people to get in when the fucking Titanic goes down will get bigger. And it will give you more time to smash up the buy button, assuming you have the discipline to do so. When you realize, oh fuck, look what I just spent at the supermarket. Ay, ay, ay. What is the price of gas over there? And you start thinking, man, how can I afford this? And you see this economic horror story, that economic horror story. You think, well, I'll just go take a walk in the park. Well, don't take a walk in the park on Juneteenth, because there may be some sort of diversity day going on, where America's most privileged class, decides to fill the air with happiness and hot lead. And you're going to be offered the metaverse, right? Mark Zuckerberg is going to offer you the metaverse. In the clip that I showed with Liza Minnelli singing the song, Why are you sitting alone in your room? Blah, blah. Come out to the club and have sex with a drug and alcohol addicted prostitute. Well, that was 1920s Berlin. In 2020s America, you'll just put on your VR goggles and you'll go anywhere. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's ads for, in the metaverse, you can go back to the Viking era. In the metaverse, you can go back to, the era where your grandmother lived. I personally have seen these ads on Instagram and other places. So the metaverse, you talk about retconning history, talk about rewriting fucking history. You know what I mean? You upload pictures of your grandma from the 30s or the 40s, or your parents from the 70s, or whatever era you think was better than now. And you know what? Facebook will spin a digital fantasy world that you can inhabit to escape the misery that this world is going to create because the money is dying. In the digital fantasy world that Mark Zuckerberg and his minions will create will not be at all like what the real 70s were, or what the real 1940s were, or with the real whatever period. You know what I mean? They're gonna just, it's gonna be 100% pure fiction, dialed in to manipulate your emotions so that you just decide, you know what, it's a good idea to work 95 hours and live in my car. Matter of fact, I saw a fucking dude, a car. I hate Uber drivers, but you can tell who the Uber drivers are in my area because the ones from New York have what's called TLC plates, taxi limousine commission plates, that start with the letter T. Right? There's no license plate that starts with the letter T in New York other than taxi and limousine commission plates. And I saw a guy driving in this fucking piece of shit fucking Camry, which, I mean, worse than my car. My car's fucking got 500,000 miles on it. But I was like, this fucking Uber driver, that car looks like absolute crap. I pull alongside. The guy had his all his life's possessions in the car. Like, the car was filled up to the window level with all kinds of shit, clothes, books, or I don't know what the fuck he had. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm looking and I'm like, this fucking guy's living in his car. Like, living in your car is a thing on the West Coast. They say there's like 10 to 20,000 people that just live in their cars in and around the Los Angeles area. Well, I haven't seen that too much here, but I'm starting to see it more and more. And that, to me, I look at that and I just think, wait a minute, how do you, like, what do you like, put all your stuff in a, so I don't know, in a garage or something, and then go do Uber for long enough to eat some food and make the Uber and pay for the car for the fucking week, and then when you want to take a vacation, you whatever, you drive the car to wherever. Like, that's the very beginning of the hint of buy more that's coming. It's the very, very beginning. If you want to know how close you are to where you live, if there's a Walmart where you live, go to Walmart, okay? Go to the Walmart. A lot of times in the parking lot of Walmart, you'll notice that there are trucks parked, right? Just trucks parked there. They're not doing anything. They're just parked. Well, the reason why trucks park there is because any 24-hour location, you're allowed to park. But don't look at the trucks because they're just truck drivers on their way from point A to point B. Look at it. If you have to go there again and again, look and see how many cars you see there that are the same car every day, all fucking day at that Walmart parking lot. That's somebody living in their car. That's somebody that's fucking homeless, who will sit in the Walmart parking lot and do nothing all day waiting for I don't know what. But they can't be chased away. The police can't bother them because it's a 24-hour parking lot or whatever. Worst comes to worst, if the cops bang on the window, they can say, oh, I'm going to Walmart. I fell asleep in my car, I'm going to Walmart. And just walk in the store like, what are the cops? But they're not going to touch them. That is more common than you think. And if you open your eyes and you look around, whether you're looking around at the bank for a group of dindus who are going to follow you 4 stops to the restaurant before they break into your car and steal your bank bag, or whether you're just going to look for the growing number of homeless people who are living in their cars, you should open your eyes to what's going on, and that should hopefully make you think about what you can do to protect yourself and those people you care about from this happening to you. So the next few years, as money flows across the on-ramp of BlackRock into fucking Bitcoin, are going to be really, really, really fucking interesting. This BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is huge, and I don't think anybody really understands the full implications of it. But if you're not stacking, you're going to regret it. You're really, really going to regret it, because depending on a government functionary or the kindness of a banker to behave in an honorable fashion in the future, is a fucking fool's errand. It is a fucking fool's errand. Anyway, what else do I have to show you? What else? I have some other stuff. I have some other stuff, don't I? And what have I got? Yeah. On the Weimar theme, this I look at the like stuff on my phone. This is gonna like if they ever grab me in the gulag, if you own Bitcoin, good for you because they'll take my I'll die without the Bitcoin. I'll die with the private keys in my head and they won't get it. But this is the cultural shift. This one, I saw this on Twitter and I grabbed it years ago, and it struck me as being the absolute, to me, particularly to me, this is 100% what is happening literally right now. This is also a great Juneteenth fucking meme. This is a great Juneteenth meme. Right? So if you look at this is the evolution of the Calvin Klein ads. At the top, 1999, Calvin Klein, you've got a hot blonde girl in a bikini walking out of the ocean towards the beach. 2019, you got some kind of fucking massive, morbidly obese she-bone, sitting there saying, I tell my own truth in my Calvins or whatever the fuck. And then in 2022, the Calvin Klein ad where in defiance of all biological reality, you have a pregnant man and his whatever husband, wife thing, whatever. But for me, Aphrodite coming out of the sea, that's crazy old Greek myth, right? The pretty girl coming from the foam of the ocean, and then how they're transforming that. And when I look at what the members of the tribe are doing to the money and where they're leading it, and I hear Larry Fink say, we are going to force behavior. We are going to force behavior. And if you don't meet our criteria, we're going to impact you economically. Translation, do what we say or die starving and homeless. And why you would sit for one fucking minute in that system makes no fucking sense. I get that normies don't get it. Like, normies don't get it. They hear somebody like me and they think, oh, you got to be a fucking mind. You got to be crazy. You're talking fucking nonsense. But everyone here who has two living brain cells understands that this is going to happen. There's no way to stop the money printer. There's no way to stop the politicians from promising anyone anything to just get reelected, to just keep them in power, to just keep their families, at the highest level. You know what I mean? While secretly or not so secretly serving the fucking bankers. The White House has autonomy in the sense that, like the Biden administration said, they were gonna put a 30% tax on cryptocurrency mining. It means Bitcoin mining. It doesn't mean cryptocurrency because all crypto is fucking a scam. They wanted to tax the use of electricity to mine Bitcoin 30% more than the use of electricity to charge your Tesla or the use of electricity to run your fucking air conditioner. Yeah, that didn't work. There are true believers, insane ideologues that have government jobs that can advance these things. They can write up these policy papers and it can seem important and fucking serious and this is going to happen. And the reality is, motherfucker, that shit ain't never going to fucking happen. But there's a certain amount of play and there's a certain amount of play in the system. You know what I mean? But, after Biden, when fucking Andrew Ocasio-Cortez fucking wins the fucking, what's his name? Chuck Schumer croaks. This has got to be soon. How long could he last? I don't know how old he is, but he don't look good. But when he gets replaced, and I'm presuming he's going to be replaced by a POC, a person of color, they're going to promise you everything. They're going to promise to run the fucking money printer like Venezuela. You know what I mean? and they're going to show the party scenes from Venezuela where you got all these gorgeous 20-somethings like waist deep in the fucking surf, drinking whatever fucking homemade fucking hooch, whatever the fuck you're doing. And what this great fun life it is down south. And they're going to say, well, you could live that way too, even though 99.9% of America doesn't want to live that way. You know what I mean? Yeah, you wish you went to that great beach party when you were a kid, but the reality is that doesn't fit you anymore. But if you come out and publicly say, hey, that's a bad idea, maybe you should, I don't know, shut off the money printer. Guess what's going to happen to you? Guess what's going to happen to you? People are not going to respond well to that. So your choice for the near future and the far future is to see through the illusions of the current culture, see through the illusions of red team, blue team, the Republican, Democrat. Like everybody knows it's the same part of the kosher sandwich. But look, if you look beyond the kosher sandwich, what will come afterwards? What will come when they inevitably fill every country with so much corruption that it all just collapses under its own weight? What's going to come out of that? And if you're an honest, realistic person, you're going to understand that it's Bitcoin. It's not Adolf Hitler Part 2 or whatever. I should have gotten a fucking, you know what? Next week I'll get the clips from the movie Boys from Brazil, which was another big movie that they pushed on us when I was a kid. Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck was the main character, playing Dr. Joseph Mengele. But that'll be for next week. In the meantime, stop waiting for others to come and rescue you, because nobody gives a shit. You have to act in a way that is rational and likely to support your future flourishing. And if you don't do that, then I cannot help you. In the meantime, here's a good meme. Here's a point of meme. Here's what you should be doing with the price of Bitcoin right now, right? That's pretty degenerate. Oh, that's terribly degenerate. That's Weimar level degenerate. It's not that level. It's not that degenerate. Here's the real nightmare, right? This is the quote by Baron von Rothschild. Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes its laws. This is the real world that you live in. And the more quickly you embrace this, the more fully you embrace this, and the quicker you will realize you should not live in a world where they control the money, right? Because this was a great picture I took from my own car like a year ago. So this is the foot of the new Freedom Tower where the World Trade Center used to be. The two World Trade Towers were used to be back in the day. This is a sculpture that's at sidewalk level. So when you walk by on the sidewalk, you can basically eyeball this. You're about eyeball level with the middle of this sculpture. And what you see is a beautiful blue globe. It's pretty and shiny. And then next to it, 4 fists, right? It's the communist fist. It's the black power fist. It's all about a closed fist and crushing and destroying, right? In an X shape. Well, it's all 4 directions. It's all 4 points of the compass. It's not, admittedly, the X is not straight up. It's not made as a cross because that was wrong. But the symbolism here is super obvious to anyone with eyes that can see. Anyone with eyes that can see, this is super, super obvious. And then from there, once the dollar crashes, listen, once Weimar comes, this is going to be the fucking reality. This is going to be your reality. When the US dollar crashes and people go out of their minds and patriotic cops and military guys wig out and decide to wig out and choose violence. You know what I mean? When they think, oh, we can shoot our way to prosperity, which, by the way, you cannot shoot your way to prosperity. This is who they're going to face. This is who's coming after you. And I assure you, these guys have a winning fucking track record. These guys have the winningest track record, probably in all of human history. So be smart. Sidestep all of this. Just completely sidestep all of this and prepare yourself and your family for what's coming. However you need to do that. Don't sound like a fucking flop sweat lunatic like I do. Where's that one? What was it? I was one. But whatever. Let's put this up. Sooner or later, this will be you. And you don't want to be the last one in the chopper. You know what I mean? You really, when everything's collapsing, you don't want to be those people. You want to have already left the place where the fucking disaster is happening. Be smarter. Just be smarter. You know, it takes some balls. It takes some courage. And like Caitlin Long says, you have to educate yourself. There's no one that's going to hold your hand and carry you safely from point A to point B. No one's going to help you cross the street. You know what I mean? That you have to do yourself. And I would say that if you actually tried it, you might find you have hidden depths. You might find you have talents and abilities you didn't think you really had. Anyway, with that, we're at 1 hour and 26. I changed the background. I made a whole bunch of changes. I don't know. I don't know how much difference it's going to make. Probably not much of a difference. Basically, it's the same show every week. But that's why you come here. By the way, last week, 38 views. Positivity encourages people to come along. So I'm absolutely positive if you abandon the US dollar and embrace Bitcoin, you will have a better future. You, your children, and your grandchildren. And even if you think, well, I don't have any money, I'm a broke ass Juneteenth person, and I don't have any money. But remember, Bitcoin used to be worth $1, now it's worth $26,000. So $26,000 Bitcoin today, what will it be worth? Pardon me, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And you might be able to leave it. Well, might be. You will 100% be able to leave that to your favorite nephew, your grandchild. There's all sorts of things you could do. Think about the future. Think about the future going your way and you not being a victim. And with that, I will. This is it. I'm going to bail on you. Now I'm going to play the outro music. And thank you to everyone who stopped by Virgil Doc Purple Heart. Everyone that's going to show up in the coming week. Thanks for stopping by. Will you please make sure to smash up the like button? Why? I beg you, every week, smash up the like button. Here's your opportunity to stick it to the man. And by smashing at the like button. Anyway, all right. I think at this point we are done. Time to hit the button for the outro music, and I will talk to you guys again next week.